Day one of the SEC men's basketball tournament in Nashville is officially in the books. We are here reacting, breaking down to, and giving our thoughts on everything in the late session. Mississippi State takes down LSU, and Oklahoma disposes of Georgia, as both of those teams will move on to tomorrow's, or essentially today's, action on Thursday. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He is lead basketball analyst Dave Shumate. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, check us out via podcast. We get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we're powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $150 in bonus bets. Today, we are here reacting to the late session of day one of the SEC men's basketball tournament in Nashville. Mississippi State, LSU, Oklahoma, Georgia, the Bulldogs and Sooners moving on to play on Thursday. Mississippi State will take on 7-seed Mizzou. Oklahoma will take on 6-seed Kentucky in the late game tomorrow night. Once again, guys, I'm Chris Phillips. I am joined by lead basketball analyst here at SEC Unfiltered, my good friend Dave Shumate, jumping on with me once again. Dave, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time and excited to break down these two games with you.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State gave LSU the red ass a little bit on that one early, got after them early. I mean, there were at times this year you thought LSU was probably the worst team, but Mississippi State, I felt like needed that. They kind of needed that dominant feel good about themselves. Again, it wasn't a great start to the second half as Chris Jans called a timeout. Friend of the show, Chris Jans, called a timeout. I appreciate that, respect that, nipping them into the butt, being like, hey, like I told you at half, we had to come out strong, put them away. Ended up putting them away around the 12-minute mark. So give Mississippi State credit coming out, handling business against an LSU team that's, let's call it spade, not a very good team. They're retaining Matt McMahon coming back next year. Long story short, in LSU, I feel like they got to invest, similar to what we talked about with South Carolina. Again, and we know it's the distant third sport for the men's sports, football, baseball, and then men's basketball. I think it's pretty unanimously agreed upon. But you got to invest on the roster side of things, especially with how good this basketball league is now. That's going to be on Scott Woodward, the AD, obviously helping Matt McMahon out going into year 4. I mean, CP, I'll leave you I'll leave you with this, then we'll change the subject on LSU. I mean, if you're an LSU fan, we just wrapped up year 3 with Matt McMahon. You've seen incremental improvements, but you really haven't sniffed the NCAA tournament. Well, Mark Byington comes over first year at Vanderbilt from JMU. They make the tournament pretty easily. That leaves a little sour taste. Again, LSU fans aren't wanting to be like Final Four regular contenders, but come on, man. Like we're heading into year 4, and we're really never been that close to making the NCAA tournament if we want to call a spade a spade. But no, I think overall, Mississippi State, good win, big opportunity tomorrow. Just keep rolling on. I think Mississippi State's kind of that team, CP. I don't really know how much they have to gain. Maybe they could get – we say this, though. I don't think the committee looks moving the seed lines much. Like, I think they're pretty stuck in an 8-9 matchup. Maybe if they made it to Sunday a 7, I don't know. I don't think so. But Mississippi State, Missouri. I mean, you watched that last game together in Starkville, in Tuscaloosa. That was just bombs over Baghdad for Missouri that day and Caleb Grill. So I'm sure Mississippi State, Chris Jans will have them fired up to go play Missouri to get some revenge tomorrow on Dennis Gates' team.
Yeah, it took everything in my power, Dave, not to fire off a belt-to-ass tweet, because that's exactly what Mississippi State did to LSU. Again, 91-62 the final. State was red hot, shooting the ball 52% from the field, 44% from 3. Josh Hubbard leading the way with 26 points for the Bulldogs. Like you mentioned, LSU, 39% from the field, 19% from 3. Dave, they just went 5 for 26 from three-point range. You know, you mentioned, too, Matt McMahon. He'll go into year 4 next year. We know he's back. How much salt does it rub in the wound, the success that Will Wade is having as well? That is, something to think about. And I think, to your point, too, the LSU program, again, you're not asking for yearly Final Four appearances, but it's still like you're a major university, LSU is. And they've had great players, just haven't had that sustained success on the hardwood. And, again, you're just asking to make an NCAA tournament. So you're not going to take anything away from football or baseball to invest in basketball, but there's got to be enough slices of that pie to give to what Matt McMahon's trying to build. So we'll see if he can. But this Mississippi State team, dangerous. And I want to go to this comment here. Again, we appreciate you guys that are tuned in live as we react to these games. Dave Keegan says, Mississippi State belt to ass on LSU. Thoughts on the big win heading into the matchup against Mizzou, who they lost to in the regular season. Like you mentioned, Dave, you and I watched this game in person, and that was one we kind of saw this trend, I feel like, Dave, with Mississippi State. And I've joked, obviously, I joked coming in the tournament that I'd invested so much faith in Mississippi State at multiple times, and it seemed like they let me down. They were as up and down, up and down, up and down as any team it felt like in the league. That was one of their uglier losses of the season. They go for revenge tomorrow night against Missouri.
And Missouri got them in a good spot. Remember, that was coming off the Alabama loss for Mississippi State at home, where Mississippi State missed a point-blank range layup at the end to kind of win to win the basketball game. And then I think they were sleeping on Missouri. I think that kind of put everybody on the radar with Missouri, that and the win at Florida this year. I definitely think this could be a high-intent game here to kick off the evening because, again, I think Mississippi State and Chris James them are going to have a little bit of a edge to them, being like, no, these guys came into our house and kicked our ass last time, if we want to be honest. So, like, they're going to be up for the challenge. Again, I'm fired up for all the games tomorrow. They all have different storylines, different levels of intriguement to me. So I'm fired up about it. But that's the one for Mississippi State that, again, not much to take from this LSU win. I mean, they beat them twice for here in the last 2 weeks, it feels like, right? 2.5 weeks. But no, I mean, LSU got to invest, and Mississippi State just keep on chugging along. Got to be playing your best basketball. I don't think seed line's going to change much, but got to be playing your best basketball. And Josh Hubbard, I mean, when Josh Hubbard's rolling, folks, I mean,
what did you say, Dave? The all-time leading scorer in Mississippi history, state of Mississippi?
State of Mississippi history for high school basketball. He played in a private league down there. I mean, imagine what he did in the private school league in the Jackson area. But no, but what did he go for? Tonight he went for 26 points. He was 9 for 19, 6 for 12. Another dominant performance. No one was even really that close to him after that from Mississippi State. But no, I mean,
nobody else in double digits.
No one else in double digits at all. He had Keyshawn Murphy with 9. But no, Mississippi State, good opportunity. I'm sure they'll be fired up to go try to get another shot at Missouri.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Dave, all the games are great tomorrow. They only get better as we continue to move through the SEC tournament. Dave, the other game, a little bit more entertaining, Georgia and Oklahoma. I feel like this game, Dave, you and I both picked Georgia, I believe, when we were making our picks for the tournament. This game went how we thought it could, how we very well thought it could, though, where Oklahoma was that desperate bunch. You know, they were talking about on the broadcast right when the game ended, just like the jubilation on the sideline and how big of a deal it was because they know they essentially just locked up their spot. You tell me if you disagree. Locked up their spot in the NCAA tournament. Not that Georgia obviously didn't play with great effort and want to, but it does seem like in these tournament settings, Dave, the team that has more on the line a lot of times is the team that finds a way to win the game. And that's exactly what happened tonight as Oklahoma takes down Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, Porter Moser was pretty honest with Molly McGrath, and then for the game, I challenged the team. They were very aware that, hey, this is a winner, or we're going to be really nervous sitting there on Sunday at home in Norman watching this selection show. So I'm with you. I think they were in already. I think it's what they did in non-conference between wins against Louisville, Arizona, Michigan, all top 3 to 4 teams in their respective leagues in the Big 12 and Big 10. So you got to respect that. And again, the committee doesn't look at your conference schedule. They look at your whole resume as a whole with whatever 30-plus games you play. So, I mean, and I appreciate that. And they don't look at the last 10 games anymore. So, Oklahoma, yeah, I mean, Jeremiah Fears, he keeps playing like that. I mean, again, similar to like Trae Young, not to the level of player he is. Again, a little younger too. But it'd be fun to watch him in the NCAA tournament. I think they've earned the right there. 29 points for Jeremiah Fears, 8 for 16, 4 for 7 from beyond the arc. I thought Muhammad Wagee, the Alabama transfer, was phenomenal tonight. 12 points, 9 rebounds. Sam Godwin was out. He had to step up. I tweeted it before the game. So if Oklahoma wins, it's going to have to be a Mo Wagee type of game. 12 points, 9 rebounds. And it's Ramadan. Remember, they were saying it on TV. He can't eat when the sun's out. So
couldn't drink water.
Can't drink
water.
The eating you could see, but the water, you take it to a whole nother level. You're like, jeez.
Yeah.
That
one blew my mind that he couldn't have
water. And then
water.
You're just flushing them with fluids and food once that sun goes down. So, no, I mean, So just a phenomenal game.
Pray they don't get an early game.
No, and then because I looked it up, I mean, there's still like 3 or 4 more weeks of Ramadan. So I was like, how much longer is this guy's like? I mean, unless Oklahoma goes on some phenomenal run that they'll be doing a 30 for 30 on. I don't know if they'll be playing that late, but 14 points for Jalen Moore as well. I mean, that was one of Oklahoma's better overall games. I mean, see, they shot as a team tonight. I mean, they were 50% from beyond the arc at half, but 48% from the field. Ended up being 48% from 3, 12 for 25. That's really productive. Really good night for Oklahoma. Turnovers are getting a little bit out of control, but Jeremiah Fears didn't even have one in the second half at one point. They ended up with 12. This was an overall really good win to get into the tournament where you're playing really good basketball, I think, as an overall team. And think about it. You're starting 5. I don't think he's going to play this week. I mean, Porter Moser, Sam Godwin. So you went and got a big win shorthanded. You had one of your big guys in the front court, Muhammad Wagi, during Ramadan. We can laugh about it. But, I mean, like you mentioned, Chris, guys dehydrated going into the game. And think about it. It stays the sun's out later now. So, I mean, Porter Moser's like, great, just in time. We just flipped over to daylight saving time right in the middle of this as the tournament starts. Selfishly, he's probably thinking that. But no, big game for Oklahoma. Now big matchup to go play Big Blue tomorrow night with a right to go with the chance to winner that goes plays Alabama on Friday night. So good game, Oklahoma, Kentucky. That was just a couple of weeks ago, CP. Down in Norman, came down to the wire. Otega Oweh, Jalen Moore getting into it at the end. I don't think these two teams shook hands at the end of that game 2 weeks ago because I think they were worried about them getting into it.
Yeah, that was the game Otega Oweh. I think he scored like 14 straight points to end the game or something like that. Yeah. And how do you say his last name? Is it Wagoo? How do you say it?
Muhammad Wagi.
Wagi, okay. Yeah, they were talking about him eating applesauce. They were like, he was eating applesauce and something else. I don't know. It was.
He's been in a couple of schools, West Virginia, Alabama, and then
very, very interesting though. Yeah, with the Ramadan thing. But it's interesting. You mentioned one of the better games, Dave. I mean, I was watching this Oklahoma team, and it's only one game, obviously, but you're like, I'm kind of surprised they went 6-12 in conference play the way they looked tonight. Like they looked a lot better than that.
Oh yeah, he's tough to get out, especially this league. I mean, if there was ever a year not to start out like 0-3, 0-5, 0-5. It's this year because, I mean, wins, as we both know, are hard to come by.
Yeah, I mean, at one point it looked like maybe Porter Moser, there were conversations this season amongst the fan base and social media or whatever about, is it time to make a change? I know you and I had the conversation. Are both Texas and Oklahoma going to be looking for new head coaches? I mean, Porter Moser, the turnaround, man, it looks like he's going to be safe. And you got to give a lot of credit. I mean, winning this game, locking up the spot.
Beating Texas last Saturday, put them in this position.
Yeah, I think he'll probably be back in Norman as he's probably earned his way back. I mean,
they've won 3 straight. They're feeling good about themselves. Yeah, I mean, another opportunity for them in Kentucky tomorrow. I mean, I don't think either team really can move up seed line, but again, just to be able to be playing your best basketball heading into next week.
Yeah, you mentioned it. The big night. He was so much fun to watch from Jeremiah Fears. He was fantastic. Oklahoma as a team shoots 48% from the field, 48% from 3, 12 of 25. Georgia, 44% from the field, 36%. I'll round up from 3. Dave, what'd you take away from Georgia? You look at them again. You and I actually saw them in person this season in Tuscaloosa. They fell pretty handily to the hands of Alabama. Newell with 21. Demery with 24, Kane with 17. Outside of that, you really didn't get any production. What do you make of this Georgia team?
I didn't think they were bad tonight. Georgia was an interesting team coming into this week because, again, I don't know how much they were going to move their seed line. They kind of captured in their locked-in spot when they beat Vanderbilt on Saturday at home. That kind of locked them in to get that 8th win, which was the number we were all looking for. I think this team's going to go as far as a guy like Asa Newell, like a truly their most talented player from an NBA standpoint. How is he playing here in March? I think that is going to be key. Obviously, you sprinkled it. It comes down to guard play as well. I think Silas Demery is going to have to play well. Blue Kane's a total role player. He's going to have to hit some key shots for him too. But I do think the key is just, I mean, you don't like to go into March when you're looking at a true freshman being like, man, we need you to step up because they haven't been in those moments. And granted, no one on this Georgia team – great. I mean, RJ Godfrey was at Clemson last year, so he's played in an NCAA tournament, and I think that's probably about it because they were pretty young between Blue Kane and Silas Demery. But I think it's going to be on the shoulders of Asa Newell. I think he's capable of Georgia. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised, not shocked, if Georgia won 2 games in the tournament. I'd be surprised. Now, anything after that, I'd be shocked. But Georgia comes to me, he's like, hey, you go get a win in the NCAA tournament this year. It's a productive season. You've already won 20 games. You're 20-12 now in league play. In overall record. This team, I sometimes just – you remember how bad they were in the month of February, CP? Just like offensively, they could get nothing going. It's like you just hope they don't resort back to that in a single elimination tournament at some point, because we know it's in there. We know it's in there, but I do think this team will go as far as Asa Newell takes them in, kind of sprinkled in with some with Silas Demery as well.
Yeah, to your point, Dave, matchups matter, but I would be surprised as well if they're a second weekend kind of team in the NCAA tournament. Again, anything can happen. You can get hot, but I would be surprised. I'm right there with you. Anything past that, like you mentioned, I would be shocked.
They're probably going to have to beat a 1 or 2 seed to get to that. Could they? Yeah. Sure, but I don't know.
Yeah, unlikely, to say the least. Again, Oklahoma will play Kentucky. You mentioned it, Dave. That last game was an absolute classic they played in Norman. Otega Owe was the hero. You got to think now, you get this win over Georgia, you kind of locked yourself up in the NCAA tournament. I mean, heck, this one's just for pride and revenge, and it's going to be a fun one against the Cats. Big opportunity for both sides. Obviously, Mark Pope and Kentucky, their expectations, I know they're the 6th seed, but they've got really high expectations. They at least want to win a few here in Nashville. But Oklahoma with the opportunity to play spoiler.
Yeah. Does Oklahoma kind of breathe now? You know what I mean?
We said the same thing about Georgia. Do they exhale a little bit?
Do they exhale a little bit now that you've locked in? Because it's been a grind, obviously, for all these teams to get to this point in the season, especially these teams on the bubble, just emotionally, just there in this league's just been so tough mentally and physically. That do you, just like you said, do you just excel? I mean, do you just like we make it? They kind of sit around because Kentucky looked pretty good, though. They got one of their better wins of the season. Does Kentucky carry that over in Nashville? I thought their win in Columbia, Missouri the other night against Missouri, a team that's only lost one home game all year to A&M outside of the Kentucky loss. Thought it was one of more Kentucky's impressive wins, and they've beaten teams like Duke. So I'm just interested to see what Kentucky Mark Pope team rolls in here. I'm with you. Oklahoma's mindset coming in tomorrow will be really interesting because they were playing for everything tonight and coming back, and like you said, what's really the seed line?
Dave, we got an electric day lined up, I say tomorrow. Today, obviously the wee hours of the night, we are burning the midnight oil. Starting at 1 o'clock Eastern time, 8-seed Ole Miss taking on 9-seed Arkansas. At 3:30 Eastern, the rivalry renewed, 5-seed Texas A&M taking on 13-seed Texas. At 7 o'clock Eastern, it's 7-seed Mizzou, 10-seed Mississippi State. And the nightcap, 9:30 Eastern, 6-seed Kentucky, 14-seed Oklahoma. Dave, the next time you and I chat will obviously be middle of the day tomorrow. So I'll ask you, games you mentioned you're excited for all of them, but things you're most excited to see, games, matchups. Again, we got some really, really good ones in the second round here.
Tomorrow's matchup I'm most fired up for.
It's tough, right?
It's got to be probably A&M in Texas, just because Texas has got to win, and just the storyline of A&M trying to get revenge off the meltdown in Austin and at the Moody Center that they had a couple weeks ago. So I think probably that. Again, Mississippi State, Missouri, it should be a good game. We just talked to Oklahoma, Kentucky should be a good game. Arkansas, Ole Miss, but when you're talking about what's up for grabs, A&M having motivation of, Buzz Williams, them love to go play well in this tournament just to start off with, but to have a chance to go ruin Texas this season after they just came back and beat you the last time they played, season series on the line, their season on the line. I feel like that's kind of probably got the best storyline, best intrigue storyline headed into tomorrow's matchups.
Dave, I want to get to a few questions and comments, and we appreciate you guys tuning in live, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're at. We appreciate each and every single one of you. Kelly says, that's the Jeremiah Fears I expect to see. Yeah, he was fantastic tonight for the Sooners. Harry James Taylor, my buddy, Porter and OU bring in March. Also says, boys, it's been a heartbreaker for Oklahoma men's basketball and Porter the last few years. Oklahoma really in the NCAA tournament. They are. You can exhale, Harry. You can exhale. Oklahoma is. Dude,
I was in that crew. You can ask Chris. I've been saying it for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And I thought we were closer to 11 than 13, but wins for Oklahoma at Texas, beating Missouri. Oklahoma now winning 3 straight. Did not anticipate that. Sorry, Sooner fans. Didn't see that happening. But that's what had to happen for you to get in. I mean, see, some of these bubble teams rose to the occasion when they had to. Like when their backs were against the wall, they answered the bell. And that's why you essentially still have 14 SEC teams that could get in.
Oklahoma was listed on, they showed it during the game, Lenardi's bracketology, last 4 in. They obviously win. Ohio State, who was on that last one, they lost. So it'll be interesting. Can Texas climb up? Obviously, another win would very much so help their case. Dave, as we close out here, we're going to talk about our friends who are at FanDuel. I want to talk the spreads for tomorrow's games, though, really, really quickly. You and I talked off air, and some of these have been out already earlier today. Ole Miss is a 3.5-point favorite over Arkansas. The over-under set at 144.5. Texas A&M, Dave, is now a 6.5-point favorite.
They got Missouri, Ole Miss, Missouri, Mississippi State out.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
No, I was gonna get. Let me try to guess it like I did last time when you get to it.
Okay. All right. Anyways, Texas A&M is a 6.5-point favorite. The over/under is set at 138.5. All right, I'll let you guess. Missouri, Mississippi State. What do you think the line is in this one?
All right, so I've been off probably about 1.5 points on average in these first two when you asked me off air. I'm going to say Missouri -3.
Missouri -3.5.
Ooh.
Right on it. The over-under set at 155.5 in that one. Mizzou, Mississippi State. And the nightcap, Dave, Kentucky, Oklahoma. What you setting the line at? What do you think the line is at via our friends at FanDuel?
I'm going to go Kentucky -4.5.
Kentucky -6.5. Over-under set at
5. I was about to say 5. I went all
over-under is set at 157.5. So, again, it's going to be a great day for college basketball yet again. Going to be a great day for the SEC. It's going to be a great day to bet as well with our friends over at FanDuel. You just heard the spreads. Dave and I will be locking in our official picks before the games get going tomorrow, guys. This bracket season, FanDuel is letting you make the call because right now new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That's 200 extra bucks to bet on everything from clutch shots, the last-second heartbreaks, and even who's cutting down the nets. If you've been waiting to join, there's no better time. There's tourney action almost every day, and FanDuel has amazing bet types like spreads, totals, game props, and so much more. Like I mentioned, guys, all these conference tournaments, March Madness, even college baseball, but we're talking specifically basketball. Everything you need, FanDuel's going to have it. They're going to have props for March Madness, like everything you can think of. Don't miss out on the action. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU and get in on the college hoops action all tourney long. Must be 21 and up and present in select states or 18 and up and present in D.C. for first online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Once again, guys, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, both advancing in the late session, and the bracket is officially set for the second round. Going to be an electric Thursday. Once again, guys, we appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Forget your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For lead basketball analyst Dave Shumate, I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you all tomorrow to break down middle of the day. Don't forget, twice tomorrow after the first two games, to break down the early games in the first session of the second round. Y'all take care.